Hello, everyone, in my AP World History class. This is your boy, Robbie Stroh here, and today I'm gonna tell about the Emu War. So let's get started. During the 1900s, there were many wars that had an effect on the world, like the Korean War, the Vietnam War, World War One, World War Two, etc. The most important war out of all the wars in the 1900s, however, was the Emu War between the Australians and the Emus. The war took place in Western Australia from November 2nd, 1932 to December 10th, 1932. It marked an embarrassing loss for the Australian Army as they lost to a pack of flightless birds known as the emus. So, how did the Australians lose to the emus exactly? Let's figure this out by going over the events that happened before, during, and after the Emu War. After the First World War, Australian soldiers returned from the war to resume their normal lives again. However, the Australian government had lots of difficulty trying to find employment for the soldiers that returned from the war. After a while, the Australian government found a solution, which was to offer money and land in the western part of Australia to more than 5,000 veterans. After being moved to the west, the veterans began growing wheat crops, but were very unhappy due to the drought and the Great Depression, which made wheat prices fall. Life became even harder for the veterans when as many as 20,000 emus migrated to Western Australia. The emus moved west so that they could search for water and food, and one of the foods they found were the veterans' wheat crops. They consumed and spoiled the crops, as well as leaving big gaps in the veterans' fences, which let rabbits enter and cause more problems. The veterans got angry and started shooting at the emus to scare them away since they were already trained riflemen. That didn't put a dent in the emus' growing numbers in Western Australia, so the veterans requested aid from the government and support from the Australian military in 1932. This was the beginning of the Emu War. The war was conducted under the command of Major G.P.W. Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery. The Australians were armed with 10,000 rounds of ammunition and two Lewis guns. On November 2nd, 1932, the Australian troops traveled to the district of Campion to gun down the emus. The Australians tried to move behind the emus in a tight combat formation, but the emus responded by scattering themselves in small groups to make them difficult to target, which is also known as guerrilla warfare. A couple days later, 1,000 emus were spotted and soldiers opened fire again in point blank range. But after killing 10 to 12 emus, their machine guns jammed in the rain and the remaining emus escaped. The emus were smarter and faster than the soldiers expected, and eventually Meredith and his men were recalled back to Canberra in defeat. After a few days, the emus started to attack the wheat crops again, which made the veterans ask for support from the Australian Army again on November 13th, 1932. The second attempt to defend the emus was more successful for the Australians than the first attempt because they killed more emus this time, but the operation was still unsuccessful. Reportedly, it took no less than 10 bullets to kill one emu, so the Australian government decided that the fight against the emus wasn't worth it, and Meredith and his men were recalled again on December 10th, 1932. This event officially ended the Emu War, and it was a victory for the emus. After the war, it was reported that only 986 of the 20,000 emus were killed with no human casualties and 9,860 bullets were used up. The veterans did try to request military assistance against the emus again, but were turned down by the Australian government again and again. The government instead provided the local veterans with ammunition and let them use a bounty system on the emus, which would prove to be effective as 57,034 bounties were claimed over a 6 month period in 1934. The Emu War of the Years has become mocked by many people due to the embarrassing loss of the Australian soldiers to the emus, which led to numerous memes in the 2010s online. This shows that the Emu War will always live on as an important event in Australian history, society, culture, and legend. Uh, that's my essay, guys. Hope you liked it. Yeah, leave a like. Also, shout out to AR Sports. That's my dad's channel, AJ Rao's channel. He's a great YouTube creator, content creator. Please subscribe and like his videos. Uh, bye.